Picture this, a completely unforgettable night in Havana. The kind of night that's whispered about like a legendary urban myth over glasses of aged rum. We are diving straight into the brilliant mind of writer Ado Cruz to unpack a phenomenal story. It's essentially an immortal game of poker for man's soul, but here's the twist. It's played with world-class cigars instead of cards. This explainer is going to walk you through some incredibly profound philosophical themes, all wrapped up in a casual, highly entertaining, and honestly, nail-bitingly tense encounter. If you've ever wanted to truly understand the value of mortality, you absolutely have to hear this chronicle. Okay, let's set the scene, because the atmosphere here is just dripping with tension. We're in a hidden room in Old Havana, right? The balconies are thrown open to the dark ocean. The air is ridiculously thick with the smell of Spanish cedar, spilled rum, and just underneath it all, a faint, surprisingly polite hint of sulfur. In walks Dantes Cruz. He's a mortal cigar taster and a man who has lived through some serious, heavy tragedies. He casually pours himself a glass of 15-year-old rum, lights his cigar, and looks dead in the eye of his host for the evening, Lucifer himself. And without missing a single beat, Dantes sets the ultimate boundary. He just says, "There are things a man doesn't interrupt, not even for the devil." So, what exactly are the rules of this midnight game? Well, the stakes literally could not be higher. Lucifer is bored. He spent millennia buying souls, and now he wants the white whale, a man who supposedly has no price. The prize on the table is the soul of our stoic protagonist, Dantes, who is grieving because he's already lost the only thing he actually cared about, his wife. The game board is a simple cedar box holding the 10 most magnificent cigars ever crafted. Sitting around this table are 10 immortal guests, a totally wild mix of angels and demons, and the rule is brilliantly simple, yet completely deadly. As each immortal smokes a cigar, they take a turn tempting Dantes. If Lucifer can find one single thing Dantes truly desires, he wins his soul. 10 legendary cigars. 10 immortal beings. A ticking clock for both the mortal man and the entire host of heaven and hell. Let's see how Dantes handles this first wave. We're stepping right into the first phase, the tasting of souls. It's Dantes going toe-to-toe with the heavens. Think of it like a philosophical heavyweight boxing match, fought entirely with words, smoke, and just unshakable confidence. Look at how Dantes handles the archangel Gabriel. It's amazing. Gabriel, the literal messenger of God, lights up a perfect 97-point Cohiba ambar, and he starts reciting its technical specs like a robot. The flawless aging, the absolute perfection. But Dantes just stops him cold. He looks at him and asks what he actually tastes, and it hits Gabriel. He's spent eternity delivering other people's messages, and he has never once formed his own opinion. Dantes completely shatters Gabriel's reliance on external metrics. He proves that external validation, whether it's fame, points, or what other people think, is totally meaningless. True meaning, that comes from your own personal truth, your own palate. And just like that, an archangel is utterly humbled. Next in the ring is Miguel. This is the great general of heaven, the guy who literally defeated Lucifer in the cosmic war. Miguel lights up this massive, overpowering Partagas Lusitania and basically argues that true power is just brute force. The one who hits the hardest is the winner. But Dantes incredibly casually redefines power right to his face. He explains that brute force is just noise. True strength is endurance. It's about being able to hold your complexity, to hold yourself together from the very beginning to the bitter end without falling apart. He exposes Miguel as a general who might have won a war but is now just a prisoner to his own eternal vigilance. Dantes proves, without a doubt, that grounded self-control beats brute force every single time. And just like that, the clock ticks down. 2 cigars are gone. 8 remain. These mighty angels, beings of pure light and cosmic power, have been totally caught off guard and humbled by a mortal's earthy wisdom. Lucifer is starting to realize this isn't going to be the walk in the park he thought it was. So Lucifer shifts his strategy. We move into the demons of desire, wealth, gluttony, and sloth. The focus shifts to the fallen angels, who slide the ultimate human temptations across the table: infinite wealth, endless pleasure, and absolute rest. And Dantes just systematically dismantles their infinite curses. Take Maimon. He has endless wealth, but he can't actually enjoy a single puff of his cigar because he's obsessed with its monetary value. Dantes drops the truth on him. True wealth is always borrowed, and you can only enjoy it in the present moment. Then there's Beelzebub, chaining cigars together without even tasting them, totally ruined by gluttony.
Dantes tells him that finite limits, actually knowing that something will end, are exactly what give our experiences their flavor. And finally, Belphegor, the demon of sloth. He's been resting for an eternity, but it's become a living tomb. Dantes explains that meaningful rest only exists as a reward for prior effort. He's basically saying, hey, our limits, our effort, our mortality, that's the whole reason life is valuable.
But then, the energy in the room shifts. It gets incredibly tense. Asmodeus steps up. He's the demon of lust and desire, and he doesn't mess around with generic pleasures. He goes straight for Dante's deepest wound. In a haunting move, Asmodeus actually alters his own scent to smell exactly like Dante's deceased wife. It's this devastating, gripping moment of dialogue. Asmodeus looks at him and offers to bring her back. Not a memory, not an illusion. Her, in the flesh, for one single night. All Dantes has to do is say yes.
This moment right here perfectly captures Dante's stoic vulnerability. You can imagine his body is trembling, the temptation is agonizing. He openly admits that his body is an idiot that desperately wants to say yes, but his soul simply will not compromise. He makes the conscious choice to endure genuine, painful grief over accepting some false, fleeting pleasure cooked up by hell. He actually tells the demon he'd rather thirst for her forever than accept a cheap counterfeit. That grief, it's the absolute last real connection he has to her, and there is no way he's trading it away.
Wow. Okay, moving into the final stretch, the Mirror of Rebellion, featuring Azazel and Lilith. This is where we hit the absolute climax of the night. Azazel is the ancient demon who taught humanity how to forge and create. But over in the corner of this dark room, there's a mortal woman named Aurora, quietly rolling the cigars for the evening. Azazel, this grand cosmic master of craft, watches her and is just overcome with envy. It's a beautiful, quiet moment. He realizes that because Aurora is mortal, because she knows her life will end, every single cigar she rolls has a soul. She pours her entire finite existence into her craft. Azazel admits that immortality actually destroys the ability to truly create, because an immortal has no skin in the game. They risk nothing. The profound truth here is that our mortality is the very engine of our passion. Then we get to Lilith. She offers Dantes the ultimate temptation. Total rebellion against the god who took his wife. But Dantes just turns it right around on her. He points out that Lilith's eternal no actually makes her a total slave. She is completely defined by her hatred of the god she rejects. She literally has no identity without him. Dantes conversely offers a painfully beautiful yes. He accepts life's brutal tragedies without resentment. He shows us that true rebellion isn't just shaking your fist angrily at the sky. It's choosing to accept and love life even when it completely breaks your heart. Now that is true freedom. Which brings us to this massive cosmic power shift. Lucifer realizes he is losing his own game. And why? Because Dantes isn't some flawless, untouchable saint. If Dantes were perfectly righteous, Lucifer could easily find a crack in his pride. But Dantes is sitting there, full of visible scars, openly admitting his flaws, his intense grief, and his temptations. By fully accepting his own brokenness and limits, Dantes becomes completely unmanipulatable. He can't be bought. The devil's so-called infinite gifts have been entirely exposed as eternal prisons. And for the very first time in millennia, Lucifer starts to feel a completely unfamiliar, deeply terrifying emotion: fear. Only 3 cigars remain in the cedar box. The tension in that Havana night is just absolute. These all-powerful immortals who showed up to mock and conquer a human are now sitting in dead silence. They've been deeply humbled, learning the absolute hardest lessons of their endless existence from a mortal guy who simply knows exactly who he is. And that leaves us with this incredible question to ponder today. If an eternity of infinite time, infinite wealth, and endless pleasure simply strips away the very flavor of existence, is mortality really our greatest curse? Or is the fact that we end, the fact that we are so beautifully limited, actually our only true gift? Edo Cruz's brilliant chronicle uses the rich, smoky atmosphere of a Havana night to prove that the ticking clock of our lives is exactly what makes the smoke taste so sweet. I highly encourage you to reflect on what gives your own finite moments their flavor. We'll catch you next time.